In an alternative reality with a massive production backlog and Boeing in crisis, now could have been a great time for Russia's domestic airliners to capture some of Airbus and Boeing's short-haul markets. But this is not another reality, and for over 2 years, Russia's domestic airliner production has been at a complete standstill. It is now estimated that when Russia's Yakovlev MC-21 finally enters service, it'll be almost 6 tons heavier, with a shorter range and a lower capacity than planned. The 2022 full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine has wreaked havoc on Russia's domestic aviation industry. The West reacted by placing crippling sanctions on the Russian aviation industry. Domestic Russian airliners like the once-touted Sukhoi Superjet 100 and the MC-21 were conceived with Western components integrated into such designs, including engines. Adding to the problem is that Russia is focusing its limited resources on the war effort. The Russian newspaper Kommersant reported that the production of all of Russia's domestic airliners, including the SJ-100, the Tu-214, the IL-114 and the small Baikal, has been suspended or delayed. Kommersant reported that after the so-called Russification of the M-21-300, it'll be almost 6 tons heavier. Russification in this case describes the process of finding substitute Russian-produced parts to replace the original Western parts. The MC-21-300 was originally planned to have Pratt & Whitney PW1000G engines, but it is now impossible to acquire them for the aircraft. In all, around 40% to 50% of the MC-21 had been planned to utilize imported Western parts. Kommersant states that the extra weight has significantly reduced the flight range and altitude of the MC-21. Its range is expected to be reduced to less than 2,800 kilometers or 1,740 miles, with Kommersant quoting some sources saying it'll be reduced to less than 2,000 kilometers or 1,240 miles. The publication notes that by using Russian substituted components, the original specifications of the MC-21 will be unattainable. The maximum payload of the MC-21 will also be reduced. The MC-21 has suffered another delay, with Rostec CEO not specifying which tests the aircraft still has to pass before its certification. Commenting on the Russification of the MC-21, state-run Rostec stated, "The final appearance of the completely import-substituted aircraft will be formed in the second half of this year." Rostec stated it expected to enter production in 2025 or 2026. However, with all of this happening, it remains unclear when, or even if, the MC-21 will actually enter serial production, given the war and Russia's focus on the military. It should also be noted that the EU has withdrawn certification for Russian aircraft like the Superjet, meaning they will not be permitted to fly into the European Union. So what do you think of this news? When do you think the MC-21 will actually enter service? Share your thoughts by leaving a comment. And for everything related to the country's closed-off aviation industry, check out our Russian aviation playlist. In addition to our daily YouTube videos, Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.